Hello, friends. At this hour of the night, when most people are asleep, some are still awake. And when you stay awake long enough, sometimes you begin to hear voices. Voices that call you by your name. Tonight's story is about that. A girl told me this story herself. She still isn't sure whether she's truly alive or just an echo. I changed her name, but what happened to her happened exactly as she described it. So, if you're alone right now, keep the lights on. Because even after this story ends, it might still echo inside your room. There were 8 friends: Sarah, Emily, Nora, Jake, Ryan, Alex, Ethan, and Daniel. After finals ended, Sarah made a plan. 1 week in the northern forest. No phones, no internet, no outside world. Just them and the forest. Everyone agreed instantly. At the time, it sounded like the perfect escape. Subtle tension rises in the music. The first 2 days were completely normal. They set up camp, lit a fire. Ryan brought out his telescope and showed them the stars. Daniel took photos. Jake kept joking. Nora didn't talk much, but she kept smiling. There was something strange about her smile, like she knew something the others didn't. On the 3rd day, near sunset, they found a narrow trail. At the entrance stood an old wooden sign. The wood was rotting. The paint had turned black. There were no words on it, only symbols, eyeless eyes staring straight ahead, circles that looked like they were spinning, and a hand, its fingers bent backward, pointing inward. Sarah said immediately, "This is a warning. We should go back." But Daniel laughed and raised his camera. Alex and Jake jokingly pulled the sign out of the ground. The moment it hit the dirt, the birds went silent. The wind stopped. Only their breathing remained. It felt like the forest was listening. Voice drops to a whisper. That night, they sat around the fire trying to laugh, but the laughter felt thin, fake. When everyone finally fell asleep, the first voice came. Jake heard Sarah calling his name, even though Sarah was asleep beside him. Nora heard Emily crying, but Emily was wide awake. Ryan heard Alex begging for help, yet Alex was right there. Every voice was perfect. The tone, the habits, the pauses. But the worst part, the voices were saying things only they themselves should know. A voice in Nora's tone whispered to Sarah, "This is your fault, your plan, your pride. We're all going to die because of you." Sarah's face went pale. She had never told that to anyone, not a single living soul. By the 5th day, they tried to leave. The maps no longer worked. The paths kept changing. Memories began to blur. Jake suddenly remembered telling someone that Nora shouldn't come. Emily cried. That never happened. At night, the voices came from inside the camp. They started accusing each other. "You spoke in my voice." "No, you copied mine." On the 6th day, the sign was standing again. Beneath it lay a black notebook. The pages were written in their own handwriting, dated for the previous days. The last line was written in fresh ink. "Only one of you is real. The rest are echoes. An echo never knows it's an echo. Find the real one, or all of you will become forgotten stories of this forest." They burned the notebook. In the firelight, 15 shadows appeared, even though only 8 people were standing there. On the 7th morning, there were only 7 of them. Ethan was gone. His sleeping bag was still warm. Sarah whispered, "Last night I heard all of you, but I stayed silent." Ryan said coldly, "Nora, have you ever thought that maybe this is all in your head? That you created us so you wouldn't be alone?" Nora opened her mouth to speak, and from above, from the ceiling of the trees, her own voice answered, "She's still deciding who gets to wake up." They all looked up. The forest was silent, but that silence was watching. Nora finally understood. She was the echo, or maybe she was the only one who ever entered the forest, and the rest were creations of her mind. So now, when you're alone at night and someone calls your name, before you answer, ask yourself one thing. Is that voice yours or hers? Because she's still there, and now so are you. If you enjoyed this story, tell me in the comments if you were alone in that forest and your own voice called your name. What would you do? Like the video if your heart is still beating. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. And remember, when you turn off the lights, don't forget to listen. Someone might be calling your name. Good night.